nor is the harm or dispute limited to incidents of abuse isolated from the larger context of the history and purpose of the residential school. And I think I'll just leave it there, just to open up the discussion.
Thanks very much. So if we could maybe read and then present, and then after, if we can open up the discussion at that point.
Sure. It's the person that put this
It's an honor to be here with Roy and all of you today on unceded Coast Salish territory. And I just wanted to say that it was an honor to work with Roy on this, like back in 2001. It was a gathering that happened in 1995. I'll pass it around. And it brought together cultural activists of Indigenous, Black, Asian descent in Canada with cultural activists from self-empowered communities in Japan, like the Ainu, the Japanese of Korean descent, and Okinawans. But in that anthology, I wanted to start with a quote from that anthology by Loretta Todd. Back in 1995, she was saying that ultimately the issue of redress comes down to trying to maintain balance and harmony with the land as we live together on it. And she concluded her talk back then with a quote from the Dene people that, if you don't listen to your mother, you won't live long. If we don't listen to our mother, the earth, we won't live long. And I find that those words are still resonant for me. Here we are, 20-something years later. And there's a lot of work, given that redress needs to be translated into material conditions, not just rhetoric. And I have to admit, I have a bit of rhetoric fatigue. As I was preparing for this, I was thinking about that play Burning Vision by Marie Clements. There's a character in there, Round Rose, who says, you can't really be sorry for something you don't even want to remember, can you? Selective memory, isn't it? Let's be honest. Hell, you can't even apologize for the shit you did yesterday, never mind 50 years ago. Indian residential schools, Japanese internment camps, hell. And this is just in your neighborhood. But it's all right. Everybody's sorry these days. The politicians are sorry, the cops are sorry, the priests are sorry, the logging companies are sorry, mining companies, electric companies, water companies, wife beaters, serial rapists, child molesters, mommy and daddy. Everybody's sorry. Everybody's sorry they got caught sticking it to somebody else. That's what they're sorry about, getting caught. They could give a rat's ass about you or me or the people they are saying sorry to. Think about it. Don't be a sorry ass. Be sorry before you have to say you're sorry. Be sorry for even thinking about, bringing about something sorry-filled. So that kind of resonated for me because it's been a hard week this week, a very frustrating week. I've been very active in trying to stop the Site C dam, and I, just so that you understand, I'm the same age as the WAC Bennett Dam, which was brought into operation in 1968. It's very weird to think of my life being tied to that thing, but that dam devastated and injured a huge number of people who are still feeling the genocidal effects of that dam. And in terms of form, I was thinking about how we're implicated in that, all of us in this province, if we're using the electrical grid. Like this energy that I'm using to project this math to you know, about a third of that electricity is probably coming from up north, near Fort St. John, between Hudson's Hope and Fort St. John, that area. And so didn't want to be just here cynically ranting. I did want to think about what we have learned from redress and how we build on that really important legacy. And I really honor that legacy, and it's taught me a lot, and it teaches me, it continues to teach me a lot. So not to be ungrateful, but just to kind of keep us, I guess, focused on the work that needs to be done still. And the inequities that continue are very obvious to those of us who are looking at them, right? Injunctions go out to Hydro and Kinder Morgan like candy to kids, and meanwhile, First Nations get denied the injunction that they've been seeking. Right? They spent 3 weeks in court over the summer trying to get this injunction, and it was not successful. That was just announced this week. And so when I think about how we build solidarity across distances, across communities, you know, I think it's really important to be grounded in our traditions and our cultures, but I think it's really important also to think about our relationship to land and water and how we get back to those to that. And so going back to the Peace River, which is very remote, like an 18-hour drive from down here in Vancouver. How many folks here have been up there before, just out of curiosity? Okay, well, 4 of you, that's good. The Peace River is actually named for a historical peace agreement between the Cree and the Denza people. And I don't know if people understand that history that is being violated when we choose to flood it. And what's been very disheartening to see in this judge decision that just came down this week is he's using the redress of other peoples who've been damaged by the dam, like the McLeod Lake Indian Band, which is nowhere near the current dam. It's about 300 kilometers away, but it was devastated and displaced by the W.C. Bennett Dam, right? So if their redress is somehow going to somehow impinge on this, the claims of the West Moberly and the Prophet River, who are the First Nations seeking the injunction now, then he would rather, you know, like it's that colonial divide and conquer. But if you're always trying to redress past injuries but at the same time re-inflicting new injuries, then it doesn't create a culture of change. And I was thinking about that idea that the settlement was without precedent, right? That it was unique and all of that, right? And that the behavior of the colonial machine doesn't actually change its logic, or it refuses to kind of transform its assumptions, I guess. And so this morning I was talking to somebody who's working on trying to stop the Muskrat Falls Dam over in Labrador, and he was saying that an elder from Labrador was saying that the dams are basically finishing the job of the residential schools. What the schools didn't complete in terms of attempted genocide, the dams will achieve through the destruction of home, land, and culture. And that's what we're facing, is the lack of walking the talk. That's going to be the death of us all, unless this government changes its behavior. And I don't see that happening fast enough. But that said, I do think, as somebody who spent a lot of time arguing against the things we don't want, I also think it's important to think about building a stronger vision of what it is that we do want. And so, for example, when I was up on Bernanke Mountain, I remember at 5 in the morning, I was sitting around Sacred Fire, and this guy just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And he's like, so, you know, I came to Divide to see what the protest camp is like. And I was like, well, actually, we're not protesters. We're not actually, I don't see myself as a protester. I see myself as somebody who's trying to support and live by reasserting Indigenous laws, reasserting natural laws. Like, there's a whole protocol of why you're there on the land and why you've chosen to put your body there. And so, you know, really strengthening that culture and aligning ourselves within that, I think, and challenging the framework that's being imposed, the colonial framework, is perhaps more crucial than ever. And so it's in that spirit that I'll very briefly just say that, you know, I've spent a lot of time talking about the problems of the Site C Dam. I'm not going to get into all of it today, but I do want to... So Dorothy and I were up there a few years ago for a decolonizing water bush camp. That was my first time up there. But this vision of the river is kind of what I wanted to maybe spend like a couple of minutes on, and I'll turn things over to Judy. But the Peace Valley, I feel like we're on the Titanic. Like, we are seriously in and on the Titanic. When we're looking at the fracking, we're looking at the pipe